So here's this 390 that I bought off a Facebook Marketplace. It's a short block. The guy I got it from said he had started to build it, and it just kind of was a project that just stopped. And so I checked the block when I bought it. It does have a 3 3/4 inch stroke. So I quickly was able to measure that, and that looked good. And then I took a caliper with me and verified it has been bored 30 over. Looks like it's got brand new pistons in it. The block looks like it's been machined. The cross hatching stuff's all on the cylinder. It came with this old distributor here and some extra sheet metal parts and stuff. I'll kind of spin this thing around. So it looks like it's got all new oil galley plugs in it and stuff. And the boards look nice and clean. There's a little bit of surface rust to the top of each one of the cylinders. I'm not going to worry about that too much. It looks like it's got some stamping marks on the crankshaft and stuff. So there's a little bit of surface rust starting to form on this thing. Nothing I'm going to worry about, but it looks like it does have a good double roller timing set in it. So no idea what's in it for a cam. The guy said he didn't know. Looks like there may be even more numbers stamped on it down here. It looks like you can see like a number 3 stamped on the side of that rod down in there, which is kind of funny to see all the different markings and you wonder where stuff came from and what it's been through, and you just have no idea. But it looks like new freeze plug stuck in here, and the block's been shot with some primer. Just it's like pretty basic stock Ford short block, nothing too fancy. It is a 390, which is getting tougher and tougher to find. I went through and kind of shook all the rods and stuff, and everything seems like it is good and tight like it's supposed to be. The motor does turn over. I've been kind of hosing the thing down with some of that WD-40 specialist stuff and spraying it in here, just trying to make sure it's good and rust free and not sticking up anywhere. Anyway, we'll kind of just take it apart and mark everything and go through it and see if anything looks bad. The only thing I think I really want out of here is the crank and then the rods. So my hope is I can sell this block and get some money back for it. Looks like it's a good block. So we didn't get very far, and you can see an issue here where there was a rod that was together at one point, and somebody's marked it number 4, number 7. We got this over here. This one looks okay, like it's a 3 and a 3 probably. And number 1 appears to have just one mark on it. And I stamped it 1-1 on the side, thinking I was all ready to go. It's 3 and 3, so as long as that one's a matched pair, I'm okay with it. The 4 and the 7 down here really concerns me. I'm not sure I'm gonna get that back together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 back here. I don't see any markings here on this rod. This one here. If I look at the right thing or not. This is pretty wild looking. It's got a whole bunch of marks all over it. We've got looks like a 2, a 2, and a 3, and upside down. There's definitely a 2 here. This is a 2 or a 3. Like, you know, what in the world has happened here that this poor motor's had rod caps get all kinds of hodgepodge mixed up. And then if we keep going back to the back here, so this looks like it's a 8 and an 8, so I feel better about that one. So those are probably matched. Which really makes me wonder, like, just what happened for these rods here that were supposed to be 2 and 3 and are all kind of mixed and matched in here. I guess I'll just take this thing apart the rest of the way, keeping these rods together how they are, and then maybe I'll see if the machine shop can recondition them and check them and bring them back into round. That way we can salvage this set of rods and not have to just throw them away. And who knows? Maybe we can actually mix and match and find all the caps that go with the rods after these things all come out of here. Well, I'll pull it apart and we'll kind of investigate what it looks like. So I got all the parts I wanted out of that 390. So go ahead and take it off the stand now and set it over in the corner of the shop and get back to work on this original 360 motor that came out of here. I'll go ahead and pull the transmission off of it and get it ready to go up on the stand and then start dismantling it. Alright, so block's ready to go to the machine shop. Well, not as ready as I'd like it to be. I can't get the rear crank bearing cap out of here. The thing is really wedged in there. I try to use a slide hammer and beat on it, use all sorts of stuff, and it just won't come out. So instead of messing up that crank, I think I'm just going to take it to the machine shop and have those guys remove it for me. I pulled all the freeze plugs out of the side, which several of those were about rotted through. I'm not sure how those things weren't leaking more than they were. This thing wasn't leaking coolant on the ground or anything. It's pretty crazy. I figured it would be just dumping coolant everywhere because there was holes just rusted all through those freeze plugs. The rest of the block looks like it's in alright shape. I don't see anything that looks real bad. All the bearings look pretty good when it came out. Looks like somebody's put bearings and gaskets in this motor before. We'll see what the machine shop says about it. See if it's been bored or anything like that before in the past. And kind of go from there. So I found that that noise and that chugging sound. Sure enough, you can see this valve here is burnt really badly. So it's just been burning away, and obviously every time this thing goes to close, it's just chugging exhaust back out the exhaust manifold there. So that's probably where all that little choo 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 noise was coming from every time it was running. The rest of the exhaust valves look like they're okay. I might go ahead and just replace them anyway. Just have the machine shop do a valve job on them, and just to make sure they got good fresh seats and nothing else is burned. I'd hate to try to do a valve job on those exhaust valves and have something else be burned in there. So while it's at the machine shop, Doesn't cost a whole lot of money to have that done. We'll just go ahead and do that. So I'm going to take this 390 crank to those guys, have those guys check it out. It looks like it's been freshly turned 1010. If it's within spec, we'll go ahead and use it, put it back in. If not, I'm going to have those guys just touch it up and make sure it's really, really in spec. I've had them turn cranks for me before. They turn out phenomenal. So I'd like to have them check that one and make sure it's good as well. I'm going to have them just vat the oil pan and just clean it. There's like a bunch of stuff in the bottom. I'm not sure how much of this is metal, but it's pretty gritty stuff here. So I'm not real sure what's in there, what's been coming out of that engine. It looks like there is some metal flaking in there, which probably not a real good sign. I didn't see any torn up bearings or torn up cam bearings or anything. It looks like it'd been coming apart. So who knows what that's from. Gonna take them to Flywheel, have them just resurface that for me, and take them these 8 rods out of the 390 and have them just refresh all those rods. They can typically do that for, I think it's like $8 a piece, just to check and refinish those rods. Alright, we'll get the block loaded in the back of the truck here and get this pile of stuff ready to go to the shop tomorrow. So at the block at the machine shop, it's a good time to get out the vacuum, the pressure washer, and the wire wheel, and get this engine bay cleaned up and see if I can't get some of this rust out of here and get a little bit of paint on it. So I'm going to take the putty scraper and take the vacuum cleaner and start cleaning this thing up a little bit. So all this stuff laying on the ground here all came off the engine cross members. This stuff is just like thicker than you can imagine. I guess it's just years of oil and grease and road debris all built up. Pretty crazy. But you can actually see the cross members now. They're pretty cleaned up. So I think I'm just going to take a wire brush and some lacquer thinner or some cleaner or something and finish cleaning those things up. So we'll mix up a little of this Eastwood rust encapsulator. So I've used this stuff before, and it seems to allow you to apply the product directly over surface rust. You're supposed to just kind of take a wire brush or something and clean most of the big rust chunks off of there. And once you do that, it says it goes on and kind of converts the rust into some sort of metal that doesn't rust anymore. The way I like to put this on is just to spray it. We can reduce it a little bit. I just use regular paint reducer, some urethane reducer, and reduce this stuff like 10%, and shoot it on there. Seems to go on pretty well. Seems to go on pretty smooth. I've never had a problem with it. I've never done any sort of direct testing with it, but the salt test and the product testing they show on Eastwood's website looks like this stuff does a pretty impressive job of stopping rust, especially for a single stage product that you just shoot straight on over it. I'm always impressed with this stuff, and for the price and how quick it is to use, I like it a lot. Alright, so this isn't going to be any sort of concourse restoration. I'm just going to put some of this rust encapsulator on here just to kind of stop the rust and kind of clean up the way the engine bay looks real quick. I got a plan to actually take this truck apart and do a Crown Vic IFS conversion on the front of this. So we'll definitely do a video whenever we do that. But I want to just clean it up a little bit for now, and when I actually go take all this sheet metal off the front, then we'll kind of actually do this right, maybe media blast all the stuff back down, put a good coat of underhood black or some sort of semi-gloss black on there so this thing looks more factory correct. For now, I just want to get the rust stopped and make sure the thing looks a little bit cleaner and a little bit better. So we put that new clean engine in there. Everything kind of looks like it's nice and at home. We don't have some freshly painted motor shoved down in this rusty old crusty engine bay here. So anyway, I'll just shoot this thing real quick and kind of just follow along. Well, looks a little bit better now. Covered up all that rust and all that junky stuff in there, so good enough for a quick engine bay cleanup, and kind of puts everything all into one nice black color, and it stops that rust, so shouldn't have any more rust issues. Simple, nice, easy to use product. Just goes on one coat. You don't have to pre-coat anything. Just clean all the big rust off, shoot that stuff on, and off it goes. So anyway, after this stuff dries tonight, I'll come back tomorrow night, take this paper off, and then I bought some green to go across and do the top of the firewall up there. So I'll shoot that and shoot the underside of the hood tomorrow night, get this thing ready for an engine. The machine shop called and said the engine's supposed to be back either tomorrow or the next day, so I'll pick that up just in time, then have a nice clean engine bay to drop it into. Alright, so tonight I'm going to paint this thing green. Well, we're going to paint the engine trim stuff green. And this is the original boxwood green that the truck was painted in to begin with. So it was a two-tone truck. So it was green on top and it was white on bottom. That's why the whole hood is green, the underside of the hood is green. So I'm going to scuff this up. I just got finished wiping it down with some wax and grease remover. I'm going to spray this in my paint booth tonight just because this is enamel, so it has a hardener in it. You definitely don't want to breathe this stuff, and I don't want it landing on stuff out in the shop out there. And it gives me a nice clean spray in here as well. So I'll tape the truck up. I'll get this hood scuffed up and tape off the parts we don't want to get overspray on, and get this thing painted real quick. Okay, so we'll mix up a little bit of paint here. This is a Omni product by PPG. It's just their single stage enamel. So we're gonna mix this paint with a hardener, and we're gonna reduce a little bit so it sprays out of the gun a little bit better. So I just pull this out of the shaker. But you can see that color. It's like a real plain, non-metallic, just basic color. This particular product mixes 8 to 1 to 1, so that's 8 parts paint to 1 part reducer to 1 part hardener. So I've got a pre-mixed cup here. For this, I'm just going to use some fast reducer. Sorry, it's a medium reducer. This hardener that comes with this stuff the local paint store sells. Put some medium in here. It's about 70 degrees tonight. It might be 1.5, but close enough. So here it is, final product of the scuffing, sanding, taping, painting. Engine bay is a lot cleaner than it was. The back firewall looks nice and clean. It cleaned up nicely. Happy with it, especially for not putting a whole lot of work into it. For something just took, I guess, 2 nights. One clean it up, 1 night to shoot it, and then 1 night to shoot the black, and then 1 night to shoot the green. Anyway, it should look nice with the engine cleaned up and stuck down in the engine bay there. Here's the underside of that hood. Should also look real nice when it goes back on. So my hope is whenever I open the hood on this thing and look underneath there, it should look real cool. So you have this kind of patina finish going on the outside, and then when you open the hood, it's like, whoa, things are super clean underneath there. Alright, well, I'll get working on that engine after I get it picked back up from the machine shop and get it turned into a 390 and get it stuck into its new home down here.